Alright, today we're going to be doing a jump scare tier list, so basically ranking every single hunter on how well they can jump scare you as a survivor. Somebody gave me this idea while I was streaming, and I thought it would be really funny to do, so we're doing it. Starting off with the Hell Ember. Now, Hell Ember is actually kind of unassuming, because, you know, when you think of Hell Ember, you think of, just like, the guy holding a shark for some reason. But, when Hell Ember, he can actually, like, throw a doll in the air and, like, teleport it to you. And, like, I don't know, descend upon you like Mary Poppins. Which is actually really horrifying if you don't see what he's doing. So I'm going to say Hell Ember can actually give you an A-tier jump scare if it happens correctly. Now moving on to Anne. Anne doesn't really have a lot of ways to jump scare you. Or any at all, really. The best she can really do is, like, kind of get a surprise jump or something off, and it kind of takes you a little bit off guard. It's not really a jump scare, but she can technically do one, so I'm going to give her a C tier, I think, for this one. Now, Mad Eyes, if you don't notice that he's on his monitors, or like a wall pops up in like an unexpected place, it can be kind of scary, but usually you can like see where he's putting his stuff. Like, you can see, oh, Mad Eyes is like, I don't know, on the monitors and all of that, and you can see where the monitor is, and you can kind of avoid it. It's, when you're in a movie and you're expecting the jump scare to happen, it's never as scary. That's kind of the way Mad Eyes is. So I'm going to say B tier, because he can still catch you off guard, and if you don't notice his monitors are coming in, that can be really terrifying. Or if your random is on the monitor and you trust them and then they put a wall on you, that can also be really terrifying for different reasons. So, Now, Dream Witch is interesting, because Dream Witch used to definitely have, like, an A-tier jump scare for sure. Like, maybe even S-tier, because, for some of you newer players, Dream Witch, the little icon she has in the top left when she's actually near you, that never used to exist. So she used to be able to kind of, like, stroll right up behind you, and, you would be none the wiser while her follower walks up about to send you into a terror shock, I suppose. But now that's kind of gotten nerfed a little bit, so you can actually see when Dream Witch comes into your vicinity. So I'm going to say she still pulls off an A-tier jump scare, because, like, if you don't notice it, like, it comes out of nowhere and it is scary, because all of a sudden, you got, like, this red light behind you and you're terror shocked off the cipher. Like, that's not a very fun experience. Next up we have Guard 26, and Guard 26 I don't think can jump scare you in any way, really. He can, like, maybe throw, like, a control bomb at you or something, but I wouldn't really count that as a jump scare. Next, we have Axe Boy, which is kind of the same story. He can, like, maybe, I don't know, restful road his way towards you really quickly. But, it's kind of like you have reaction time and whatnot, and you see him coming. Like, there's not really a good way for Axe Boy to jump scare you. Now, Hermit, on the other hand, Hermit can be terrifying, and he can be terrifying during a kite, because, you can be, like, doing a loop or something against, like, Half Presence. Is it Half Presence? He gets his, like, teleport thing. I'm pretty sure it's Half Presence. I permaban Hermit, so I don't really know his abilities, but, you can be, like, mid-kite, and the red light goes away, and it's like, oh, man, maybe he's hiding the red light, maybe I should be careful. And then all of a sudden, boom, there he comes, like, the circle goes around you, and Hermit just appears in his, like, flurry of electricity. Like, it definitely can be pretty terrifying, especially if he comes at you from a long distance and you didn't, like, realize, and then you're stunned and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's a big disaster. But, like, you can kind of predict and understand when he's gonna do it. So I'm gonna say maybe A tier. I'm gonna say A tier. This one I could see a B tier for Hermit, but I'm gonna put him in the A tier. Next we got Evil Reptilian, which is kind of the same deal as Hermit. It actually works in about the same way, but Evil Reptilian is significantly easier to kind of predict and see what he's doing. So I'm going to say Evil Reptilian's jump scare is definitely in the B tier. If Hermit's shaky, Evil Reptilian is definitely not A. But he can totally catch you off guard sometimes, and it can be annoying. Next we have Bloody Queen, and now let me tell you, there are few things worse than, like, hearing the mirror noise, looking around, being like, oh, I wonder where she mirrored, and then getting terror shocked off your cipher. Like, it is probably one of the most annoying terror shocks you can take, because Like, it comes out, you know it's coming, but you don't know when it's coming, and you don't know where it's coming from. So, for that, it's actually pretty scary. I'm gonna say Bloody Queen is honestly, like, a shaky S tier for that. If she actually pulls it off, it's a hard jump scare to actually get correctly, but if it happens, it's really annoying. Poor old Antonio over here, the violinist, can't really do much. I mean, he can throw, like, stack notes at you, I guess, from, like, a distance. But that's not, like, oh no, music notes are attacking. Like, that's not some kind of horror movie material. So, you know, we'll just put him in the can't tier. Next, we have Sculptor. Now, if you don't notice her chisel is arriving, then that could be a problem. But, like, you can see the chisel. So, usually Sculptor is fine. I'm going to put her in the C tier, because she can pull stuff off with a chisel and maybe get, like, surprise statues, like a surprise birthday present, but a lot worse. And, you know, it can happen. Percy, again, is another hunter where it can happen. Like, you can have, like, a little bit of a heartbeat and be kind of, like, running maybe a bit in the open, and boom, all of a sudden Percy just comes behind you and your day is ruined. Usually that's not going to happen. I'm going to say he has a little bit more capability to do it than Sculptor and Anne. Can I put him above Anne? There we go. I'm actually going to say Sculptor is before Anne as well. Because, you know, the surprise statues are definitely better than... well, surprise cats would actually be cute. I wouldn't mind surprise cats. Anyway, off topic, I digress. Next, we have Breaking Wheel. Now, Breaking Wheel is kind of like Undead, but on, like, steroids. Like, he can absolutely Sonic his way across the map sometimes. And if you're not prepared for that, if you don't know it's a wheel, and, well, I mean, you would know it's a wheel by the time he has that capability. But, like, you know... if you're not expecting him to come and it's kind of like an open place and he just comes at you like a freight train, like, you know, it can be a pretty terrifying experience. Like, you know, it's nothing near like, you know, you're about to get like terror shocked or something, and it's like the sheer panic you feel in that moment, you know, that split second before disaster. But like, Wheel is kind of like he like speeds towards you, puts one spike on you, immediately leaves the wheel form. And at that point, you've just accepted that death is imminent because you're more than likely on half health and he's just gonna Thanos snap you. So, yeah. Naiad, again, like, I guess you could get jump scared by the water, kind of, but she doesn't really have a good way to do it, so we'll put her in the can't tier. Wax Artist is the same, nothing really good there. Nightmare, on the other hand, he can kind of use his crows, and he can get around, and he can be a little bit scary when he does that. Now, the thing about the crows, right, is that you can actually predict the crows. Like, you can see the crows, they're very, very visible, but you don't know when it's gonna happen. So you always gotta be careful when you're, like, crossing, like, an open plain or something. But most of the time, you'll be able to more or less predict when a nightmare is gonna, like, manifest in front of you. Like, you can kind of predict that. Manifest was definitely not the right word there, but oh well, it's fine. So I'm gonna say B tier jump scare. It can totally catch you off guard, like, you know, if you're not expecting it, but yeah, most of the time you are gonna be expecting it. Now, Photographer. I'm gonna say this is probably the only tier or tier list that Photographer is gonna be S tier in. Like, this has to be the only one, unless you are maybe, like, ranking them in characters that have the most simps, maybe. But, like, dude, Joseph can be absolutely terrifying. You know, he comes out of the photo world swinging. If you were, like, blissfully innocent, like, decoding a cipher near a camera, dude, he is gonna, like, rain on your parade. Like, you're not gonna be having a good time. Like, we all know that. Especially when he gets his second presence, no one is safe. Because he can, like, materialize into the real world when he's not near a camera. So, and it's always nerve-wracking, you know, you always get that kind of, like, dread when a photographer is in the match, because you really don't want to eat the terror shock. Next, we're going to have Wu Chang, which is kind of more of the same. He's really on the same level as Dream Witch, but a bit more, or a bit less predictable. So I'm going to put him in the top of A tier. Because unlike Dream Witch and Hellember, you can, you know, he makes no, like, he has a little bit of reaction time, but it's like, it's almost never enough. If he gets his umbrella, like, perfectly on top of you, it's like, oh, well, that's a free hit, great. And unlike Hellember or Dream Witch, you can't really predict or do much about it. It's just kind of a free hit if he does it right. I believe there is a sound that plays, like, when Wu Chang is using, like, his umbrella. I'm pretty sure that happens, so you can kind of predict, but you can't predict what cipher he is going to teleport to. Well, you kind of can, but, you know, it's kind of a ridiculously difficult prediction to do, so, you know, Wu Chang top of A tier, enough said. Next we have the Clerk, and Clerk doesn't really have a lot of ways to jump scare you, but I will say Clerk can, like, if you forget she has a recording or something, and, like, you go to vault a window, and then she blocks off the window, like, that's gonna be a bad day for you, and that's kind of scary, because all of a sudden you have, like, the triple chin blobfish descending upon you, which is not fun, that's not great. So I'm gonna put her in, like, I don't know, below Anne, because, you know, there can be, like, a couple scary moments, but, like, almost never. Next we have Smiley Face, and Smiley Face probably top a C, because, like, you know, he kind of comes at, he's like Breaking Wheel, he can kind of come at you from out of nowhere, but he makes, like, a noise, and he cannot go nearly as fast as Breaking Wheel can. His dash is a little bit more scary than Breaking Wheel because, like, it actually hits you, but, like, Clown is just kind of a joke at this point. Like, his clown attire is very fitting. Next we have Ripper. Now, Ripper can actually scare the living fuck out of you, especially if you're not good at, like, countering his invisibility, or he has, like, peepers or something, and he's, like, doing a red, I don't even know if you can do a red light trick with peepers, but, you know, suppose you can. I don't know, Ripper invisibility can take you off guard, and then something that a lot of people underestimate is, like, Ripper Foggy Blade. You know, I've done it as Ripper a couple times, I've had it happen to me, I think once, where you're just, like, you know, decoding a cipher, all is well with the world, butterflies and rainbows are everywhere, and then a Ripper Foggy Blade comes from across the map and just, like, takes you by surprise, takes, like, half your health away. It's not a pleasant time, and that's very, very frightening, like, as you can imagine. So I'm gonna say Ripper probably, like, you know, it's such a rare instance for Ripper to actually be scary, but when he is, he's really, really scary, so I'm gonna maybe say top of C, I think, is a good place for him. Next we got the Gamekeeper. Now, Gamekeeper hooks, yeah, they can kind of come out of nowhere, but, like, you know, he doesn't have a way of kind of attacking you when you're not expecting it. Like, you're always expecting when his hooks are gonna kind of, like, be thrown at you. So I'm gonna say, like, I don't know, maybe he could catch you off guard every once in a while, but kind of maybe just above the Disable right here. Next we got Weaver, and, you know, she could web shot maybe. She does have the speed, which can kind of not one shot you, but, like, kind of surprise you a little bit when she, like, rounds corners faster than, like, you know, you would expect her to. So I'm gonna say maybe, like, I don't know, maybe kind of on the same vein as, you know, all these four or these other three, like, you know, Undead, Clown, Ripper, kind of the same, that they can kind of speed at you, but I think Soul Weaver is definitely the least scary of all three of them. Next we have Geisha, which is actually really similar to all four of these hunters that I just mentioned, you know, is in the fact that she just kind of dashes at you. Although with Geisha, I think it's a little bit more, because if she has her, like, tier 2 upgrade, she can be a lot scarier than, like, I think these three. I think Ripper still has the edge on a Geisha, but, like, Clown, Percy, Soul Weaver, like, you know, you can kind of always know when they're coming. Geisha, you know when she's coming, but it's a lot more scary, especially if she, like, does, like, a butterfly you were not expecting her to be able to hit, or if she, like, does the butterfly trick where she goes through, like, a wall or something. That can be, like, a big disaster and pretty frightening. And lastly, we have the Feaster. You know, good old Calamari Man, the Yellow Lord, Senor Tentacles, you know, like, you know, Squidward, but, like, lost his mind. There's lots of things we can call the Feaster by. You know, Feaster's one of those hunters that you can really just sit back and insult all day. And as much as I would love to do that, I do want the video to finish relatively soon, so we're gonna actually rank him. You know, he doesn't really have a lot of ways to jump scare you. It's a really anticlimactic last hunter. You know, he can get, like, surprise tentacles. You know, personally, I would prefer a surprise cat, or, like, what was the other one I say? Surprise statues. But, you know, surprise tentacles can also be a thing. Like, they can attack you when you're not expecting them to, and such like that. Especially if he has, like, his final presence where he can put, like, the mark on you and, like, throw tentacles down wherever you are. That can also be pretty scary, but I'm gonna put him on the same vein as, like, Sculptor or something. You know, he can be a little bit scary if he, like, takes you by surprise, but his abilities are so easy to spot out, like, it's just not gonna happen. But anyway, that's gonna be the tier list. Comment, obviously, if you think characters should be in other places. Be respectful about it. Check out Identity5 Tools, link in the description. And also subscribe. That's a cool thing you could also do. You know, take your Feaster Tentacle and slap that subscribe button. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.